Hi friends, and welcome to this 20-second entry of the Thoughtful Knitter video journal. My name's Ailey and I'm coming to you from my home in the far north of the Scottish mainland. Today we are somewhere different, the reason being that it is a horrible dreich day, there is basically no daylight and I've had to resort to these great big studio lights. And I didn't really fancy having those in display in my sitting room, and my neighbours wondering if I'm even more of a weirdo than they probably already think I am. So I have retreated upstairs and I am recording this a few days ahead of travelling south for the wool and walk-in trip that I organised earlier this year. It has eventually come round, it's this weekend. I'm not entirely sure if this video will be up on YouTube in time or not, so this might be, you know, a waste of time me saying, but if there's anyone out there who happens to be going to Glasgow School of Yarn on Sunday the 20th of October and they see me and my little gang there, please do come over and say hello. I promise I'm friendly. I am an introvert, but I'm a friendly introvert, and I absolutely understand that going up to strangers is quite a scary thing when you are also an introvert. So if that's you, please be brave and know that I will be friendly back if you're worried. Okay, so let's get into what we normally talk about. I'll put up on the screen places that you can find me elsewhere. I think it's basically Ravelry and Instagram, and everything that I talk about I'll have show notes which will be down in the description box, so if you look underneath the video there will be a bit that says more. If you click on that it'll expand and all the links will be there. If there's anything I forget about, please do just reach out and ask. They're normally quite complete, so hopefully everything will be there. Yeah, I think that's us for the setup. I've got quite a lot to chat to you about today because the last video was a Christmas jumper special and I know that wasn't for everybody, so the time between the episode before and this one is quite long, so I have quite a few things to talk about. So let's jump in straight away and talk about what I'm wearing. I made this jumper towards the end of last summer into autumn, and it has become one of my staple pieces in my wardrobe. I've worn it a lot. It is a pattern called Misty Woodlands. Yes, Misty Woodlands sweater by Suvi Knits, and it's a 4-ply fingering weight design, but I actually used a sport weight to achieve gauge. I used, what's it called? Rerum Natura Ulysse in the colourway Erable, and I actually rescued this from a previous knit that I never wore, so not only is it now something that I really enjoy wearing, but I feel extra good about it because I got to use the yarn twice and it is not just sitting in a cupboard anymore, it is on my body on a very regular basis. Things that I did differently with this one, so the pattern itself comes with, it goes like this. These two motifs do not exist. So it starts off, I think it's 4 or 3, I can't remember, but it's like that. It's a narrower bit of lacework. But the pictures on the pattern show it in the smaller sizes, so this kind of central portion takes up an awful lot more of the body. So what I did to compensate, because I think I kind of worked between the medium and large sizes, to make this panel take up more of the front of the jumper, I added in an extra leaf motif. So instead of being 4-3, it's 4-5, 4-5. The whole front is like that, and then the back is plain. Other things I did, I think I put in some A-line shaping into this because I am pear-shaped. So I tend to, if it's going to have, say, I don't know, 10 centimetres, 4 inches of ease on the bust, I want it to have the same the same ease on my hips. I don't want it tight. I would say that with this one I went a bit overboard. I think I put in A-line shaping, but I also omitted, there was meant to be decreases before the bottom rib, and you're meant to do the bottom rib in a smaller needle size. I did neither of those things, and now it is quite tent-like at the bottom. I don't know if you can you see? Can you see that? It's not the best look. So I have been meaning to pull back the ribbon and rework it, definitely in a smaller needle size, possibly reduce a few stitches. But I've just never gotten around to it because I wear it so much. I think given that I am now in peak Christmas jumper project knitting time before Christmas, it won't be happening before Christmas, but maybe in the new year I will get around to fixing this so that it's the absolute perfect fit for me. While I'm on the subject of modifying, I keep meaning to recommend a video to you all. It came out over the summer and I wasn't recording at that point, but it is by somebody called Nancy Wheeler, who has the Knit Sip Happy podcast. If you don't know Nancy, you should check her out. She is a sock designer, she is an expert knitter, and she is also a lovely host of her channel. So she had put up a video that was all about modifying knits for a pear shape, but also about moving. I think she mostly spoke about yoked jumpers, but possibly also raglans. This is something I also do, is rearranging your stitches so that your sleeves are sitting further back and that you have more material for the front to cover the area that you have a bust, and less material on the back, and it just stops you getting kind of wrinkly, puckering at the back and too tight at the front. So I will link that down below because it is a really useful resource and is far better at explaining things than I am. So yeah, if you're ever wondering how to put those modifications into place, I would definitely recommend starting with Nancy's video. Okay, so I think that's everything to say about this one. I'm pretty sure I spoke about it in a previous video. If I did, I will link it. Where is it? There, I think. Oh, somebody's beeping their horn outside. And right now I'm distracted. I think I was just going to say, let's move on to finished objects. Okay, finished objects. I have 3 to tell you about today. The first one, I am so pleased with it. I think this might be my magnum opus. This is my finished cushion for my brother. It is based on 2 different, well, it's not really. I used motifs from 2 different patterns. This front one here is from the Rams and Yows blanket pattern by Kate Davies. I changed it by, I think her repeat has 4 rows of, well, yeah, 4 rows of sheep before you repeat. I changed it to 3 because I only had 4 background colours and 3 pattern colours that I was happy with. And I spoke about this in episode 20, I think. It is pretty much entirely knit out of Jamieson's of Shetland Spindrift in their Naturals collection. But I think this was Ecru by Jamieson Smith, and this was Haar by Black Ale Yarns, but the rest was Spindrift. So yeah, I changed this, I truncated it to 3, and then I also introduced splits in the patterning and put in this Puri pattern from a stitch dictionary, and I also finished off with another pattern and kind of gradually changed the colours into the black, which it is on the back as well. I will just quickly turn it round, but I need to cover up. The other side has my brother's Croft name on it, so I need to cover that up first because editing the last time was a pain in the backside. So I'm just going to put something on this instead. Okay, I'm back. This is the other side, which incorporates this pattern from here down, and no, that's not in it, but that bit is. The Oilsborough Touré, which was the Shetland Wool Week pattern for 2024. And then I think I put a little bit more space in here, inverted these and put some space here. I introduced some different Puri patterns here and here to mirror the ones on that side at the top and the bottom. Yeah, and I've got my brother's Croft name on here. In case it's not obvious, the reason I have covered this over is I don't think there are any other Crofts with that name in existence, so it's probably not best to be sharing identifiable information on the internet. I haven't said, but this is for my brother. It was for a significant birthday that he had this year. It is now 3 months late. I had finished all of the knitting in time, but then I missed the deadline because I didn't have a zip. I had ordered the wrong kind of zip. It arrived, I don't know, a few days after his birthday, but I'd kind of lost my deadline then and lost the motivation to finish it. I didn't have a clue how I was going to put it all together, because it's not something I had done before, but I eventually got a new deadline to put a rocket up my backside and get me to finish it, and that was the Shetland Wool Week Fair Isle Friday. I thought, oh, it'd be lovely if I could share this side on Instagram for that event, so I did. Yeah, so the way I constructed it was I worked each panel separately in the round and with stake stitches, and then I cut those to get 2 flat pieces. I sewed them together along the top. I think along the top I did 3 needle bind off. Along the sides I used mattress stitch, and then on the bottom I have inserted a zip so that he can clean it if he ever needs to. He has 2 little children, so the chances of some iron brew or something being spilt all over it are high. Yeah, it was... I'm proud of it mainly, well, it looks lovely, so I'm having difficulty handing it over. But I think I'm proud of it mainly because I absolutely had no idea what I was doing and kind of made it up as I went along. I cast on here and just started knitting because I didn't know what my roll gauge would be, and I kind of by here thought, right, I'll stick some of these in and then I'll do 3 lots of this. And then I still had some space, so I added this in. But because I had started down here and I had not done a provisional cast on or anything, that would have been far too much like foresight, I then needed to mirror it down here. So what I had to do was cast on and knit this and then graft that onto here. I think, did I? Yeah, I think I cut off a couple of rows below the cast on edge. the bag was far more simple because I knew I had all this space to play with on either side. I had great intentions that if he likes this, he can have a second one. I must say I am rethinking that now that I've had to put the thing together. It was not fun. But it was made a bit more easy given that it's, you know, black wool and everything by this wonderful invention here, which I'm just going to quickly tell you about because this video is very kindly sponsored by Serious Readers, who gave me this light back in the springtime. This is one of their high definition Serious lights, and it is wonderful when it comes to giving you light that is really like daylight. So it's got daylight wavelength technology, which means that it is replicating daylight as close as is technically possible, and it's also very adjustable. I'll put it on, I don't know if you'll see it coming on. Yeah, you can see it there. And it's got an expandable and a narrowing in light, so if you have it on, it is only coming straight down on your work. It's not annoying anybody else round about. It's very easy to turn off. You just do that. You can put it back on a second. You can adjust the intensity. Oh yeah, this is working quite well. You can see it going down there. Yep, you can adjust the intensity. I always find kind of like middle to low is fine, but probably as the year progresses and the winter gets deeper, I might need a slightly higher setting on it. Serious Readers have very kindly offered a discount for followers of this channel. I will put it up on the screen, but the discount code is TTK24, and what that'll do is it'll give you £100 off of a high definition light, and if you're in the UK you will also get free delivery. It is an investment, but I think it's worth it, and we are coming up to the season of giving, so maybe if somebody loves you a lot and is looking for a decent useful present to get you, this could be on your list. It comes with a 5-year warranty, and it is manufactured in the UK and also designed here. So yeah, I thought that was the perfect time to tell you about it because it did make my life easier in the putting together of this one. But as I was saying earlier, I am not sure whether I'm keen to do another one or not. I will see, I will gauge my brother's reaction. I kind of think I'd rather knit the whole, like a matching blanket, like the Kate Davies pattern blanket, rather than have to put one of these together again. Although I think it would be easier because the second one that I was scheming doing was having this on both sides, so that would mean I would only have one set of steek stitches, and I have now got a bit of experience of putting a zip in, and I kind of know what, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I did wrong last time so it might be easier next time. Yeah, and inside I just got a pillow from Dunelm, which is a home shop in the UK, and it has got a lovely feather down fill-in, so it's very cosy, and I kind of feel like I want to do a little bit more of this before I give it away. But yeah, I am very pleased with this, and there's not a lot more I can say about it other than it was fun. It was great to be creative within some boundaries, like using another pattern and knowing what sort of size I needed, and the problem solving, while at times was hurting my brain, it was enjoyable. Although I will say this project did, well, it wasn't quite blood, sweat and tears, but there was blood, and I am a squeamish person with an overactive imagination, so I will not go into too much detail, but there was blood. I'm okay, it wasn't serious. It involved a Chow needle. I will leave the rest to your imagination. Right, let's get on to my other finished objects or we will be here all day. So finished object number 2 is this piece of embroidery, which I have not ironed and have not yet, what's the word, framed. But it is finished. The eagle-eyed amongst you, last time I showed this I said that there's meant to be a stitch in each of these wee bits. I've decided I can't be bothered and that it looks fine as it is. I've also noticed a mistake, I think it was down here somewhere. But again, unless you're looking really close, it doesn't matter. So this is the Nordic Selby Star black work embroidery design by Midge Porter Design, and I am going to have this framed and put up in my wall, on my wall in here, and I am very pleased with it. I will put it along the front for you to have a wee look and you can decide if my needlework is up to scratch or not. How was that? I'm quite pleased. The back looks also very neat. I redid the centre because it was a right mess. It was where I started, so I redid it. But yeah, this was so relaxing. So relaxing. I really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of missing having something to stitch on, so I might very well go on to do something else, although I don't probably need any more pictures for my wall. But I do like this. It's got the knitting connection with it being a Selby star. So yeah, that was finished object number 2. And finished object number 3 is this little pile of crocheted poppies, which I have just whipped up for the last few days for a local development trust are doing a remembrance display, and they needed them by, I think it was the 20th of October. So I went through all of my wool collection and found anything that was red. So I do have a bit of a kind of mixture of, oops, oh well, I've lost some. A mixture of hues here. Some are maybe more appropriate than others, but I'm hoping that they'll be fine. I think it's for going outside, I think, so it's not the end of the world if they're not all consistent. I'll show you one there. So these are crocheted, and the pattern I used was the Poppy Project crochet version, which you can get on Ravelry. I think it's by Yarnspirations. You get it through their website, or it's on a blog kind of post on their website. But I found the pattern a little bit unnecessarily complicated, and it had like extra chain stitches where there didn't need to be and things. Sorry, I'm in a ravel. So what I did is I followed a YouTube tutorial that I found for it, and I will link that down below. The only modification I made was I started the middle with a magic circle and did all of my initial crochets into there. The way it started in the pattern, which is free, was that you chained so many, and then I think it was maybe, I can't remember, you chain so many and then you work the rest of the double crochets into the first chain, and it kind of, you end up with, like, say, I think it was 12 in total, so you end up with 11 double crochets. I'm speaking in US terms here, treble crochets for the UK. So if you would end up with 11 double crochets and 1 3 chain that acted as a crochet. So instead I did a magic circle and I did 12 double crochets into that, and then I worked the rest as the video. So these are lovely. I'm quite chuffed with these, and they were very easy, very satisfying, did not take long, a great kind of quick project. So if they are kind of seasonal, so if I get this up before Remembrance Sunday, then maybe you want to have a go and you could make it into a wee brooch, or you could make it into a display as our development trust are planning to do as well. I'm sorry that I'm speaking at such a rate of knots. I just realised I'm just aware of having a lot to say and not wanting this to be too long, because the longer it goes on, the harder it is to edit, and also the longer it takes to upload onto YouTube. And I live in the sticks, so my internet connection is not fantastic. So yeah, every little helps if I can keep the episodes down to a sensible length. And also I don't want you to get bored of my company. So that's it. Let's get on to works in progress. Let's talk about things I am currently working on. So the oldest of them is this one here. It is a jumper by Isabel Kramer called Nazrin. It is a yoke, colourwork yoke. I have done the yoke and both sleeves and a fair proportion of the body. So I'm just on the kind of round and round and round stocking stitch for days stage. The pattern, you have the option of either having a unfinished edge, or you can add on a ribbed neckline, which I did. I kind of like the closer in look. It's a bit warmer for the time of year this will be needed. I have worked some modifications. I started off working size 2 for the shoulders, and then did an extra set of increases to get, no, I think I did a few extra sets of raglan increases. So the way this works is you've got increases throughout your yoke pattern, but you also have raglan increases afterwards. So I worked extra ones to get it up to size 3 around the body, just because I wanted a good fit around the shoulders. I also moved my sleeves back to give more space in the front, as I mentioned previously. Again, go and watch Nancy's video if you want some tips on how to do that. And I am knitting this with 2 different farm yarns. This one here, neither of which are available anymore, so that's great viewing for you, isn't it? This is Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company. It's one of her limited editions. It's now I can't ever say this word. I always say Zwarbles, but I think it's meant to be Zwartblas or something like that. So it is a pure, I'm going to say Zwarbles, that's what I say. It is a pure wool, a woolen spun. It is a 4-ply weight, or a fingering weight. It's very sticky, absolutely ideal for colour work. And then the contrasting colour in the colourwork yoke is some leftover Black Isle Yarns Killing sock, her old version. So she still does have this yarn, and she still has this colourway, which is rock pill. It's just it's in a slightly more consistently spun, higher spun, what's the word? High twist spin, because it is ideal for salt. It's now got a slightly longer meterage for your 100 grams. I've used both. To be honest, I think I probably prefer the new one, so that's good news if anybody wants to use it. It is 80%, I think this is right, 80% Cheviot and 20% mohair. So it's a lot softer than this is, but I think it's coming out really well. It's a slightly thicker yarn, so that's helping the colour work to stand out, as well as holding it in the dominant position while I worked the yoke. I think this is going well. The main problem with it is I've got no idea how this happens, because basically my brain is missing in action these days. I had swatched with this Warbles yarn a couple of years ago and had started knitting something else. And my gauge was 26 stitches on a 3.5mm needle. And then I think I did another swatch at some point and I wrote down that I should use a 3.5mm needle for this project. So when it came to doing the project, I just cast on and started doing that. And I did think at the time, I was like, oh, this is 4-ply yarn, I'm using a 3.5mm needle, I'm a tight knitter, I normally get about 26 stitches, but yeah, I've written down it was 24, so it must be fine. I lied to myself, it is 24 stitches, so this is going to be an awful lot more snug than it was meant to be, and I'm starting to worry a bit about the fit on the shoulders, because it is like snug to my shoulders, which is fine, but I'm wondering, will it maybe lift up, right up when I lift my arms? I have tried it on and I've had mixed results, so I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, I have enjoyed this knit. It probably would have been done by now, but I re-knit this bit to here, I think 3 times, because I followed the pattern. Then I decided it was too close up into my oxters or armpits, so I pulled back and worked extra depth and got so far, and then tried it on and realised it had a batwing effect, and that was not what I was looking for, so I pulled back again and went back to the original measurements. So the moral of the story here is Isabel Kramer knows what she's talking about, and on that point, I'm delighted with her pattern. This is actually the first Isabel Kramer that I have ever knitted, and it will not be my last. Her patterns are succinct but clear, and yeah, I'm really enjoying working on one of her patterns. I think this might take a wee while, although I'm close to the end now. I think it's going to take a wee while because, as I said earlier, I am in Christmas jumper knitting season and I have 5 to do, 4 Christmas ones, 1 just a normal jumper, and I think I've bitten off more than I can chew. So we'll come on to one of those in a little minute, but yeah, I think this is probably going to be a after Christmas finish, but I am very much enjoying it and looking forward to having this in my wardrobe. Next up is this pattern here. It's a Gaelic name. I have looked it up and apparently it is Gulach, which means beloved in Gaelic. So you can see it's an all over texture pattern but quite simple. It is a, how many row? 6 row repeat. And I am working it in this yarn here, which is a beautiful autumnal yarn from someone else that I can't pronounce. Ushitita, those people. In their Squirrel Sock, and this is Squirrel Kids. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it as well, I think you can see that. And yeah, this is Autumn in a Ball. This was a really lovely present from my friend Aranka a couple of years ago, I think. I started using it last year on a pair of socks, knitted them far too tight, and reclaimed the yarn, and now I have started knitting this pattern. So you can see it there. I mean, the texture is maybe getting lost within the variegation. I'll show you the back, so you can see the back is plain there. But I really like it. It's just something to break up the stripes that you sometimes get and flashes. So yeah, this is as far as I've got in. I cast this on really so that I've got something quite simple to work on while I'm away at the Wool and Walking trip. Although I think I'm almost at the heel, so that's maybe not the best idea ever. I might have to rethink what I'm bringing with me. Yeah, not sure if these will get done before autumn is finished, but that's okay. They will do next autumn, and any other time of year because it is a beautiful colour. I think I said the pattern is by Liz Cork, who is a Scottish designer, and she is not on Ravelry, but you can see her patterns on Ravelry, and then they'll take you through to, I think it's PHIP, where you can buy her patterns. I've knitted a few of her patterns and they've all been really good. So yeah, that is number 2. Now on to work in progress number 3. If you have not been interested in my Christmas jumper episode, that is fine, but that is what I have been knitting on recently. So I am most of the way through the colour work on nephew number 2's jumper. This is not coming up true to colour. That's coming up blue. There's something in my face. Sorry. That's coming up blue on screen. It's actually a greeny colour. It is called, is it sea green? I think, no, North Sea by Drops. It is their baby merino. And then the contrasting colour is, that's also not blue, that's like a really light green. I think it's light sea green or something. I don't know what it is about cameras that they make these kind of colours come out very turquoise or blue. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, this is, what I'm doing is I'm using the Tin Can Knits Flax Sock pattern, and I am then incorporating in the colourwork chart. I've added in a little bit here that is not in the original chart from Boreal by Kate Davies. So the Boreal pattern is a yoke design, but it was going to prove, it's also an adult pattern, so it was going to prove impossible, well not impossible, but far too difficult for my little brain to put into a child's garment. So instead of that, I have worked it at the bottom. I'm almost done. I'm just got some, it is mirroring, so I am about here on the bottom one, so I just have the remainder of this snow, I was going to call it a snowdrop, snowflake, and these ones to finish at the bottom, and then it'll be into the ribbon and the sleeves. So I might actually be able to take this one away with me. I still have to do the neckband. I always do that afterwards to help stop the garment stretching out the same. It adds a bit of structure if you pick up your stitches afterwards. Yeah, it's going fine. I am somewhat regretting my choice. I knew there would be a lot of float management because there are a lot of long floats, but yeah, it's taken a long time, and this is at 26 stitch gauge, so a fingering weight gauge, and this is only number 1. I've got another 3 to do like this, so wish me luck please. What I'm doing for the long floats is I am managing them using ladderback jacquard, which, there you go, that's how it works. So it makes like a web at the back that doesn't show through at the front, instead of catching your floats the whole time. And when you're catching your floats, it kind of reduces the stretch in the garment, and yeah, it's just a lot of setting up and remembering and float management. I had already, you can see a line here because I had already blocked to this point because I wanted to double check my gauge. So this is all still lumpy bumpy, but hopefully it will even out on the block. Looks like that. It is looking lovely, and I've got a feeling it's going to be on the long side and also possibly on the wide side for my nephews. Well, this is nephew number 2, but that can't be a bad thing. It'll just mean it lasts a little bit longer. So that's where my main focus is at the moment. I have also knitted to this kind of point on nephew number one's jumper as well, so, and had blocked it. So I've got that part done, and then it'll be on to the two slightly smaller ones. So I'm hoping that if I get the two big ones done first, that'll speed me up once I've got my momentum and I know what I'm doing with the project. Like I'm kind of getting to know where to put my jacquard float things. So yeah, I'm hoping that the next few will be a little bit quicker. But yeah, that is all of the knitting content for today, or crafting content I should say. We did also have crochet and embroidery. There's not much else to say. I will be back again soon, hopefully, probably the beginning of November, and I will share with you how I got on at my wool and walk-in trip, and I'll hopefully have a little bit of footage. Who knows, I'm notoriously bad at taking photos and videos because I tend to be in the moment and enjoying it, but I will try very hard to do so. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me, and please do let me know what you're up to in the comments. Let me know what you're working on and how you've been, and I will see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.